So I am just on the BJJ Fanatics website, and what's amazing is now we've already talked about Gravity is Your Friend, but there are 2 other instructionals that you might want to talk about.
Recently, I had the opportunity to work with BJJ Fanatics guy, and now we have 3 instructionals out there. We have Escapes Engineered for guys over 40. If you're 40 or more, hey, dig into it. Gravity's Your Friend, sit-up sweeps. Been there for some time, and is really, really getting a lot of attention. And then we have the Smash the Knee Folding Pass. Now, that's one of my favorites. So if you haven't looked at them, take a look. BJJFanatics.com.
Hey, I'm wondering, do you have a place where we could go to ask all those questions that always come up in jiu-jitsu?
You are lucky. You are very, very lucky. Ask a Black Belt on all podcast platforms, plus our YouTube channel. What I do is essentially I collect questions that you might have and the questions that I've had for all this time being on the mat and record them as a short individual episodes, about 3-4 minutes long, and just put them out there several times a week. So make sure you go, you follow, and tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Subscribe, download, all that stuff, and get those answers to the questions you've always wanted to ask.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
Squeak, squeak.
Stop moving that damn chair.
I need a new chair. We alive, by the way.
There it goes again. Unbelievable. You got to get yourself set and then don't move. And then when you do move, move away from the mic slowly.
You're really telling the guy with OCD not to move.
Well, the guy with OCD should know how to look. Listen, be real quiet for a second. I know dead air is not what we want, but listen. Shh. That's me moving around back and forth. Oh, and then here, you moved a half an inch and your chair went off again. I think if we just put a couple washers underneath there, where the screws are, it'll be fine. But yeah, add that.
You want to take that project out?
No, add it to the list of a million other things. It's not my top priority. It's okay if nobody's talking, I can take it out, or if if the guest is talking, I can take it out. But, mine does it too.
Oh yeah, there you go.
But I know how to properly move around.
Listen, not everybody's amazing like you.
That's true. If there was more of me in the world,
oh boy,
it'd be a much better place.
I got one
for me.
Right, that's enough. Let's ask Margaret how she feels about 2 of you.
Oh, she'd love it. Everything would get done, even more than what gets done now. She'd have tons of free time.
Wow, the confidence is blowing this roof up right now.
That's right. What are we supposed to be talking about?
Research.
Research.
Yeah.
Robert Degle. Really smart, intelligent young man who he got his philosophy degree, right?
Yeah, but he
and then he was
doing pre-PhD.
Yeah.
Pre-doctorate, right? And he dropped out there, right?
And then he was like, screw this.
I'm doing Jiu Jitsu for a living.
Yes. Because for one of the reasons, I think, is because he would have to continually, his entire life from that point forward, be doing research on topics that he really didn't love or wasn't that interested in. I think
if I recall it correctly, it was the monotone job that he would have after getting his doctorate.
Well, what's he going to be? He's going to be a professor, right? He's not,
right?
Yeah,
right.
And not a jiu-jitsu professor,
right?
And he would be told this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And he would be spending, the biggest portions probably of his day on things he really wasn't passionate about. So he decided to
do jiu-jitsu.
Do jiu-jitsu.
Crazy idea. Huh?
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you sponge it from that perspective, as somebody who is going to school to become a professor, a university professor, right? I mean, and we are not talking about, just to put it in the perspective, like you're talking about decade of studying here. This is going through, proving theories, and I don't know exactly what it takes to write a thesis, but I know it's a lot of work and a lot of studying and a lot of stuff that you need to do. Right. And that's a person who, I mean, there has to be a level of intelligence, not to take away from anybody. I'm trying to be careful not to piss anybody off here, but let's just say it what it is. Like, you got to be smart to get to that level, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
got
a level of intelligence that you need to have, and you have to be, you have to apply yourself. And I think one of the other things he was talking about is when you're done with that, the opportunities dictate your career.
Right.
You're not creating your own opportunities.
Right.
It's like these are the places that you are matched with, and these are the places where you and it could be a bunch of places where you don't really want to go.
Yeah.
But you got to pick one.
Yeah.
And you got to do it.
Well, and what I would start saying is that to achieve that level of degree, you really have to put not only a lot of work, but there is it has to be a level of intelligence associated with all of this. You really got to apply yourself, stay focused on all this, and this guy gives all that up to essentially teach jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's what he does.
Well,
and to frame this, if you didn't listen to the episode, he doesn't have an academy.
No, not yet.
Not yet, right? He just wants to teach seminars, travel the world, compete, and learn, get the best that he can be,
and do research on the things he's interested in.
He's interested in.
So it's like he didn't. I just look at it like he redirected.
Right.
He shifted all all those things that he needed to do. He's still doing, but on a topic that he loves and has dedicated himself to. And will probably, the vibe I get from him, will be super successful.
Yeah.
He knows what it takes. And if he can, if he keeps applying all of that dedication to his training, his competing, and then eventually his business, he's probably going to do amazing, right? Because he's doing all the research that he needs to do. And when it comes time to open a business, he's going to do all the research that he needs to do to make a successful one. He's trained with the greatest people in the world, and he's been in some of the most successful academies in the world. So I'm sure he is grabbing all the knowledge he can. That's research too.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the first one who talked about insane schedule, going to school, working and training, and going above and beyond, and like sleep becomes secondary. You just do what you love, and you embrace the grind, and you're continuing. But let's go back to the research part, because we can now agree that was the pivot point, or the main kind of essence of the whole conversation with him is, how do you look at the research? How you look at research itself when it comes to life or jiu-jitsu? Let's talk about life first.
Well, anytime I needed to research something, if it was something I wasn't interested in or passionate about, or it was all, I would procrastinate, lose focus. So I can kind of see where Robert's coming from. And if it was something that I was interested in, then I could dive right in. And even though there might be points where things might deviate from what my preconceived notions were, I could stay focused, stay on track. But it's very difficult. It becomes very difficult for me when it's something that I don't have a passion for.
Why do you think that's difficult?
I don't know. Is it something that developed over time, or is it just the way my brain works?
Or what happens when you're doing research about something that you don't enjoy? Phone. Phone happens.
Yes, I get very distracted. And before, in the days prior to the phone, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would, I could look out the window.
Did you just muted me?
No, I didn't mute you. I hit something with my phone, and I realized that your gain was much higher, so I brought it down.
Oh.
Relax.
Are we still recording?
Oh my God. Yeah. 8 minutes in so far. So, what was I saying? You threw me off.
Research and getting distracted.
Yeah, so it's easy. See how easy it is to get distracted? I mean, and, so it's like...
Between my OCD and your ADHD, we are in trouble.
Oh, look, I got a hangnail, and then 30 seconds have gone by, and minutes gone by. So it's just, I think it's just the individual the way their brains work and how they function.
So what would you say that makes research successful? Like at which point, in order for you to gain some information, because essentially research in my mind, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, but in my mind research is essentially learning details about specific topic and being open-minded enough to read it and draw your own conclusions. Like is that how you view it?
Yeah, I think so. And you make up, you draw your conclusions based on the factual evidence.
Yeah.
That you've been digging through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's
so what
pretty
makes
much the same.
What makes the research successful? Like what components you need to have in order for you to be really proficient with researching and really finding out?
Probably motivation and then discipline, right? Same as everything else. If you're motivated for whatever reason, because it's something that's interesting to you or you've been giving it a task, right? So you're motivated, but then you have to have the discipline to sit down and start going through the weeds, and and especially if it's something that you're not interested in, because you're just not into it. So that's where the
it becomes
discipline,
a chore.
Yeah, it's a chore, and that's where the discipline comes in. I think more so than if it's something that you're truly interested in.
So let's bridge this to jiu-jitsu. Like how do you use the function of research with your jiu-jitsu study?
Again, if it's something that I'm really interested in. So ways back, it was like, okay, what do you want to focus on? Let's do some guard work. What do you want to focus on? And at that point, there was 2 guards. It was open and closed. And it's still pretty much
You've been doing jiu-jitsu a long time.
No, for me, it was open and closed. There was much more in existence. But so what did we pick at that point? We picked Spider Guard and did it for quite a bit of time. But then I realized, this isn't. It wasn't something that I was really enjoying on the mats either. It was interesting. It was cool. And, I was watching videos and Tiguina and, stuff that you've put out there. And it just kind of, at some point, it was like, you know what, I want to change my focus. I enjoy much more pressure passing.
The true Gary was born.
Yeah, when I realized the fun in pressure passing. So then it was like, okay, well, now I'm really interested in this, and I'm gonna have the discipline to follow up. I'm gonna have the discipline to really work on it on the mat, not drill it for like, a couple seconds, and the sweep didn't work, so let's move on to something else. It was like, okay, I'm gonna pass, and I'm gonna pass one of 2 ways, and I'm gonna keep working on that, and I'm gonna reset if I get shut down. And there was a big point too. I was just talking about this last night, where it was like, I asked you, I was like, hey, when I'm knee side smashing, I've noticed that a lot of people, I can just pass to the back. I don't have to finish this sequence. I don't have to get the lapel and really, make those steps forward and fold them, into a C shape, or, really fold them over. It's super easy to just pass to the back. And you asked me what my goal was. Was my goal learning knee side smash, or was it passing? And I was like, well, okay, now I have a decision to make. And I was kind of, when I was talking about it last night, I was saying that I was kind of cheating myself out of the technique by taking that shortcut. Like, ooh, there's my opening. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to take it. Where if I don't take it and I do all those extra steps, because someday I'm going to run across the guys and who aren't going to give it up that easy.
Yeah.
So if I don't know, if I didn't do the research, didn't do the steps, didn't have the discipline, well, then now with that individual, my passing isn't going to be successful.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's while we're doing that research, while we are studying, while we're exploring new opportunities and gaining the knowledge base, there will be others opportunities that will present themselves.
It's that distraction again.
And is that right? Again? And then so then, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a very good point, right? So at that point, this second, third, fourth, fifth opportunity, are they a distraction or are they a pivot point?
Right.
And we have to decide where are we going with this research, right? Because truthfully, the research by design, it's inquiring new information, and we have to be, if we are open-minded about it, then we are willing to learn new things, right? Which could, by nature, introduce a pivot points, take us in a different direction, right? Which we didn't know. And technically, I suppose there's nothing wrong with taking those pivots, but we have to acknowledge that our original topic is getting side pushed or pushed to the side, whatever, right? It's no longer the primary goal.
Yeah.
Is it? And this is kind of breaching into the vortex of YouTube, because I think that's how YouTube works, right? A powerful tool, but extremely disorganized.
Right.
And,
Are you using it, or is it using you?
Right, kind of in a sense, right? Yeah. So how focused you are on gaining the answers that you were originally seeking. So here's another question: at which point do you call the researcher satisfied and you move on to something else? Like, what do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
well,
with today's amount of information, you can research one thing for a decade.
Sure.
With what's presented, right? So at which point do you say, I have gained enough information about this and now I'm ready to move on to something else, or perhaps I'm ready to pivot to the sidetrack which was presented by the research I have done.
Yeah, I think it depends on why you went into it in the first place. There you go again. With your chair. Why you got into it in the first place, what your goals were.
Yeah.
Right? Because all those things can fluctuate during that period of time. If you're doing it just for fun, well, you might just be like, I've lost interest. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I want to move on. So I guess it depends on, is it something that you have to do? Is it something that you want to achieve out of it?
Yeah.
There's all these different things that play into it. But I think
I'm gonna stop breathing, stop moving.
Well, look, I'm moving all over the place.
You're not
You don't hear a
moving.
thing. I'm moving my body, my upper body. I'm moving around. Look, I don't hear a damn thing. There's not one squeak about. Look at that. So, why'd you go into it? What's the purpose behind it? And then at that point, if you reach these pivot points or these distractions or these forks in the road, well, then it's like, okay, do I want to keep doing what I was doing? Is that what's really important, or is it this new thing?
So let me ask you this: in your mind, is research even necessary? Like in Jiu Jitsu, particularly, like I would say 99% of people training Jiu Jitsu, they learn in an academy. They come to a class where there's an instructor, there's instructions, and then very small percentage of people will use video or books or other mediums only, right? There's a large amount of people who will cross-reference it between them, and they study at the academy, they watch videos, they have these different engagement points, right? But there's a very small percentage of people who watch videos only, right? So at which point you should be reaching out into these other mediums and doing the research, right? Versus being at the academy. Is that even helpful?
Versus? I don't...
No. I'm not talking replacing it. In addition, adding the research to your study at the academy.
Yeah.
Is that even useful? Like, how are you seeing that?
I think you could start it right away if you're focused. If you're not, if when you start as a white belt, well, first off, ask the pertinent questions to your instructor so that you don't start filling your head with all these things that you can't do yet or don't make sense or are going to put you in bad positions. So, ask those pertinent questions and then seek out your additional information based on those answers that you get, right? So if you're if you're brand new, you've never done this before, and you're like, you just start sparring, let's say, so you've been in it for a couple months, and you can't escape from bottom side, ask why, and then seek out the answers in other mediums for that. Don't start thinking about Spider Guard at that point. Don't start thinking about you know, whatever. I mean, chokes from mount. Stick on that topic, you know.
Stay focused.
Yeah, stay focused. Have the discipline to stick to keep down that same path.
I guess my question was, should you be? Maybe I phrased it wrong.
Questions.
I know, but part of being foreign, and yet I'm on podcast. I guess my question was, should you be venturing out into quote unquote research, or should you be asking questions at the academy?
Both.
Why?
I think you can do both.
Why?
You don't have to, but you can.
Why?
You should be because you have a source of information right in front of you that you can apply at the moment. When you're doing your research off the mat, you're not applying it. You gotta watch it, remember it, whatever you do if you take notes, blah blah blah. Then you come in and try and apply it, and I bet something gets lost in translation through that, or lost in the time frame from when you were watching your videos to when you're trying to apply it on.
I see. You're saying there's an
know.
opportunity to lose
just
that information.
Yes, just a little minor detail here or there. So then you're like, okay, I've been working on this, and you told me that, but then I tried this and it didn't work, and your instructor can say, oh, well, I could see because your hips are flat. Get a little more to your side, right? When can you half-ass it? Spider guard. So you need to get to the side, something. Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that, or I didn't notice that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking out other mediums early on, as long as you have that focus of what are you looking for, and staying there, in that lane.
No, I mean, I agree. It's, research is important. I think every student should do research, perhaps at different capacities, but like once you get to the higher blue belt and purple belt level and up, I think you should be doing extensive research all the time. That path or the journey of Jiu-Jitsu is kind of shifting towards you developing your own style, your own way, your own Jiu-Jitsu, whatever flavor or whatever they call them, But a lot of it is on you, relying on the singular, like just single point of you relying on the instructor is really gypping you, in my opinion, from the development. Like at that point you are, in this somewhat advanced stage where you've been on the mat for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, extensive period of time, where you should have the capability of looking at, whatever the research point is, developing your own conclusions, and perhaps you will be losing some points, but in kind of arguing that back, you could be losing points in an academy too. When instructor is showing a technique, you missed it, you looked away, you forgot, you get there was a point of distraction. So I think the points of distraction are everywhere. In my mind, I would love for my students to do research when the jiu-jitsu maturity level is medium to high. We should be doing research on our own, I think. We shouldn't be relying on the instructor only. The instructor is the guide. He's the person who will kind of create the path for you. But you got to walk the path. You got to figure it out. You got to really push the boundaries. You got to go through self-exploration, discovery, drilling, experimentation, failures, successes, and so on to continue developing your jiu-jitsu, and taking a lot of the responsibility on your shoulders and carry them on. And again, instructor is there to help you, but I don't think the instructor is going to do the work for you.
They can't.
Well, they can't.
Right. So even when you're talking about research, they can't. So, I mean, and they can be like, hey, how many privates did you and I do with Dan Zuccarelli where, he would come in with all this stuff that, Dan's a black belt. He loves his privates. He's refining all these different things, and he's been doing this for so long that he's got notes that he's taken from 10 years ago. And he still goes back to those, and then comes in and, he's like, I want to work on this. What do you think of that? And how many times have you been like, well, you know what? That's interesting to me, and I've never seen it done that way. I don't see anything wrong with it. Let me look into that some more. Or I've never, even though you've been doing this for forever, I've never seen that. I've never heard of that. Or that person. Let me look into it. So, I mean, you're still doing it, right? And so I think that when you are, if you want, obviously it's a passion, right? So if it's a passion for you, yeah, keep looking into it, diving into it, finding out new things. You know, and I always look at other people too, who are, it's just a hobby. So if that's all they're looking to get out of it, that's great. But if they're saying, I'm not getting any better, well then, you know, why? And maybe you need to seek things out outside of, you know, because you can, okay, I can only be here 2 days a week. Well, then you got to supplement it somehow if you want to get better, right? So you're going to have to do that off the mat. You know?
Well, not only that, I think even if you are here 5 times a week, if you're on the mat 5 times a week, I think even then, when you finish your session and you do your reflections in the locker room or at home, this is a great
And
opportunity.
you're crying into your hands.
Well, perhaps. I mean, you know, into your little blue pillow, you know, and all that. And these are good points of good time to reflect on what happened, why it happened, and perhaps do some research and find out why it happened the way it did. You know, and you know, if it went well, how can you take it to the next level? It didn't go well. You know, why it didn't go well? How can you make the adjustment so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, you know what? This is a long one. What I was thinking is, you know, I have my little red book, and I don't use it as much as I should.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it's still in my bag. But
Perfect place for it.
It is. But when I was using it, let's say it was an open mat, I went five rounds with these 5 different people. What am I working on? What worked? What didn't? Why? And then at the bottom of that, I'm drawing my conclusions as to how that day went. And I think that's research in and of itself. You're researching everything you're doing on the mat.
Yeah.
And that really helped me a lot. And, you know, so, I mean, you can do all the things we're talking about, you can do in the moment as well. So.
Yeah. I think the main thing that the main conclusion I'm coming to as we are discussing this is 20 years ago when I was starting my journey, we didn't have any of this. You guys are freaking spoiled. I say this over and over and over. But we had to show up to Academy because there was nothing else. There was no YouTube, there was no videos, there was nothing, right? Google, I don't even know if Google existed. I probably did.
I mean, it existed, yeah.
It was such a beginning stages. I remember Yahoo, I don't remember Google. But today, but today, this episode is complete trash. But today we have access to all this data, right? We have access to all these videos, and I really strongly believe anybody who's not taking advantage of at least some of it it's not that you're doing anything wrong. You're not doing anything to better yourself. Right, right. You're not taking it to the next level, right? And again, like we've done a million times, there are free things out there, there are paid things out there. Some of them are expensive, and I get all this. But if you're not doing it, you're not bettering yourself. That's the bottom line, right? So it's really up to you how much you want to invest into your education, how much you want to invest into yourself, how much you want to invest into the art, how much you want to invest into this hobby, skill, sport, whatever you categorize it. We all doing it to get better.
That's the idea.
I mean, right? If we're not doing it to get better, then why are we doing it? Right? That's the point, right? So if you want to get better. Seek the information. Find the information. Do the research. Look for it. Find it. Draw conclusions. Get better. And just love it. I'm gonna stop poking.
Stop banging things on the desk. Stop moving your chair. Stop touching the microphone. Stop coughing.
Can I do anything?
Well,
it's a long
Jiu
one,
Jitsu.
but listen, I think it's an important one. I think this is an important one. If you haven't seen this on YouTube, you should, because this is nonsense.
It is nonsense. All right. Are we
Let's
done
wrap this
here?
up. Yeah, let's wrap this up.
All right, peace.
Later.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio.
28
If
minutes
you
long.
enjoyed the show, don't forget
That's
to
the
rate us
longest
and
one
review.
ever.
Help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.